I'm Felicia,
And I'm Ian.
and we are the Paranormal Lovers.
Hello, paranormal dudes, dudettes, and dudays. Welcome back to another episode of the Paranormal Lovers.
Hey guys.
Hey guys.
Thank you for joining us back for another week, episode 65.
Yep.
60. Oh, I don't know why I feel like that's like a special number. I don't know of any 65.
Because it's a special
number.
episode.
Oh, okay.
It's
All right.
it's
If
gonna
you
be a
say
good
so.
one.
That's
I
interesting.
got a good one.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, what did you love about this week?
I don't know. I'll have to think about it.
It was just like,
Work is kicking my ass.
yeah.
But
Like rained all weekend. It was rainy this week, and then it was warm, and then it got cold, and yeah, you actually worked 4 12-hour shifts this week.
I guess I'm happy that we get paid an extra day for work.
I mean, you're also doing
Let's get like free money.
You're doing that special training.
Yeah, and I'm doing a lot more work that I don't know. I'm basically getting promoted at work, but
yeah, you're going towards the job that you've wanted to have since you started.
Yeah.
So
that's been interesting. What about you? What'd you love about this week?
also same. It was just kind of meh.
We
I'm
both
sure-
have I have a full-time job. Felicia's a full-time mom, so it's
Well,
pretty
I'm a
rough
full-time
sometimes.
homemaker.
Yeah.
I don't get to consider myself a stay-at-home mom anymore because my kid is in school for 8 hours a day, so I'm making the home.
Yeah, but there's still a lot of stuff to do. A lot of stuff to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to do, and I'm proud of myself for getting it done. It may have took me
too.
until 5:30 last night to finish cleaning and to get that last bit of floor mop, but I did it. Damn it.
Yeah.
The house feels clean once again.
Right.
So I guess that my house is clean. I don't
There you go.
know.
That'll work. That works. It's the small things.
Yeah, it's been kind of I don't know. It's hard to find something to love when it's just same shit, different day.
If you guys are just now joining us, that's one of the things we do every time we try to think about something.
I flipped us. Oh shit!
During the week that we love, because we're the paranormal lovers.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's our little thing, but it's kind of hard because
it is. It's hard.
You work 12 hours a week and
the monotony of everyday life.
I did get to see Rainey this weekend. Rainey's the wonderful woman that gives me medicine. If you're listening, hey girl, she's my legalized drug dealer.
Pretty much.
I gotta go get my medicine today too.
That's America.
Can't forget that. I gotta go get that duloxetine, or else we're gonna have a real bad weekend.
We gotta go by the bank too. But.
Yeah, because weird shit. If anybody got Champion Credit Union, watch your bank account because there's some weird shit going on.
Yeah.
All right, what do you got for us today? You've been talking about this shit all week. So.
Oh man, this one's a doozy. Okay, so it's episode 55.
65.
65. 55? 65.
65, Bill. We're at 65 already.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You're like, no, 55. No, 60.
Yeah. It's episode 65. This one's going to be called Stairs in the Woods. And it's...
No.
It's a... So, this one fell on a cryptid for me. Because, like... If you guys are just now starting to listen to, we'll do like a UFO, and then or alien, we'll do a cryptid, and then we'll do like a ghost story.
Yeah, my list is a lot.
Sometimes we'll do like cults.
I have seven topics that I rotate through.
Right.
But yeah, that's what you do.
So this one fell on my cryptid week, and so I'm gonna do Stairs in the Woods. Now it's not exactly a cryptid, but it's very strange. It's like I don't know. I can't even explain what it is, but you'll see when I get into this
Okay,
story.
go ahead and do a disclaimer
Yeah, for
about the
sure.
fact that this came from Reddit.
Yeah, so this is a Reddit story.
So take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's true, not true. Somebody wrote it. I have no clue. Also, a trigger warning. Um, this is done by a search and rescue officer. So um, there's a lot of people that are unalived in this, and
Gotcha.
kids, and
Gotcha.
a lot of traumatic stuff that just kind of weirdly happens.
So trigger warning: shit that happens in the
Yep.
woods.
Yeah, this stuff is not for the faint of heart. So if you guys don't want to hear about that stuff, just skip this whole episode.
Yeah, come back next week. It's gonna be great. You'll love it.
Yeah. But so welcome back guys for another fun-filled episode. This week's episode, like I said, comes from Reddit. There it's a very these set of stories, I'm just going to kind of be reading through them and talking about them, but they're very similar stories to another guy's stories. His name is David Paulides. But they come from a different post. These come from a different post made by r/no sleep on Reddit. Now, the stories center around a search and rescue officer that works for the U.S. Forest Service. The stories that I'm going to read to you guys today are they tell of a stairway in the middle of the woods.
You know who I really wish was on this episode?
Who?
And I don't know if they listen to us or not, and I cannot remember her name. I'm so sorry, but you guys need to go listen to Crime Off the Grid.
Mm-hmm.
It's a podcast by an ex-US or like a park ranger, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
She's either a park ranger or a former game warden, and then she has this other lady that's on there with her a lot who's also a game warden.
What's her name again?
I don't remember her name, but the name of the podcast is Crime Off the Grid.
Crime Off the Grid. If you hear this in 2 weeks, we're probably going to be doing another one of these. So
yeah, that would be cool. Because I'm like, oh, I wonder if they have any stories.
Right, for sure. I'm sure they do. But so I swear, if I see stairs out in the middle of the woods after doing this episode, I'm going the other way because these stairs are not normal stairs. And as I get into the stories about them, you guys will see too. Very strange things happen on and around these stairs. Now, I'm not sure where these stories come from, like state-wise, but I know that they're somewhere in the U.S., hence U.S. Forest Service. Uh, I'm not even sure if the Forest Service guy is real or not, so I don't know. That'll be left up to you guys. So, let me see. So this week was oh yeah, already said that. Okay, now I'm not sure of the name of the Forest Service guy. So for this episode, we'll call him Jim. Makes things easier. Ranger Jim.
Ranger Jim.
Ranger Jim. So Ranger Jim goes to say in his first story that he was a typical search and rescue ranger and that he would find missing people that lost their way in the woods. He said that most people that went missing usually followed the number one rule when getting lost in the woods: stay where you are.
Yeah.
Jim, in his first story, says that there were 2 cases he had where they didn't. The first was 2 kids, a boy and his sister, who were out picking berries in the woods with their parents. Both the boy and his sister went missing around the same time. When the parents noticed that their kids were missing, they called the Forest Service. Jim was assigned to their case. Uh, when he got out to the area that they were found, they found the little girl almost right away. When Jim asked the little girl where her brother was, she replied, "He was taken by the bear man."
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Not a bear man.
She said that the bear man gave her berries and told her to stay quiet, and that he wanted to play with her brother for a while.
Ew.
Right.
That doesn't sound great.
Makes me wonder if they were eating hallucinogenic berries.
It makes me wonder if there's some creepy man living out in the woods
Right.
that just kidnapped her little brother for extremely nefarious reasons.
Right. The last the last she saw of her brother, he was on the shoulders of the bear man and seemed calm. Now, the first thing Ranger Jim, like us, uh, thought was abduction, right?
Right.
That's what I would have thought. But they never found any other trace of humans in the area. They didn't find any trace of them. The little girl seemed to think that the bear man was not a normal human being. She said he had a weird face.
Hmm.
Ranger Jim searched for weeks, and he said it was one of the longest calls that he had ever been on. They never found the kid that went missing and found it strange that there were no signs of anyone else being there. Like they couldn't find anything.
Right.
The second story Jim recalls uh, was about a young girl that was out hiking with her mom and grandpa. According to the mom, the daughter climbed a tall tree in the area to get a better view of the land. And as we all know, kids love to climb trees. So,
Mm-hmm.
well, this kid never came back down. They waited for her at the base of the tree for hours, calling the child's name. Finally, after the child never came back down, they called the Forest Service. And again, Jim came out to begin the search. Jim's Jim searched high and low for the daughter, and again, never found any trace of the child ever being there.
Hmm.
He goes on to say that there were a couple times that he had been out with a canine search unit, and the dog would like lead him straight to a sheer rock face. They usually found the person miles away from where the dog had led them, but found it weird that the dog had led them there because it just lead them to a drop off or like, you know, almost like into a rock cliff.
You know what this is giving me?
What?
It's giving me wrong turn vibes.
Yeah,
Like the bear man, like his face is wrong.
right.
Like I'm like, this is some wrong turn bullshit right here.
Yeah.
They're like fucking weird creature people. Like, no offense to inbred people, but like some inbred people living out in the woods, like living like creatures and shit.
Yeah, I'm not sure because see, I've read the whole thing, but you'll see a little later. It's just some strange stuff. So the dog would lead them to a cliff. That's where I left off. Jim was teamed up with another search and rescue officer on one particular search for a man that was climbing, and the guy hadn't come back. They had to climb a pretty far cliff up to get to him. When they found him, he was huddled in a crevice and had a broken and infected leg.
Mm.
The guy said he was fine until he got to the top. He said that there was a man standing up there when he got there. He said he was wearing a parka and ski pants and said when the guy turned around to greet him, he had no face. Just a blank face.
Interesting.
Yep. The climber freaked out, which I would have freaked out too.
Right.
um, while trying to climb down too fast, he fell and broke his leg. One of the scariest stories that Jim remembers is one about a young woman who had gotten separated from her hiking group. He said it was late at night when the dogs had picked up her scent, And when they found her, she was curled up under a rotten log. She didn't have any injuries, so they started to bring her back because she could walk and everything. So along the way, the woman kept asking the officers why the man with the black eyes was following them. They just thought that the woman was in shock, but the closer they got to the base, the more agitated the woman got. She kept asking Jim to tell the man to stop making faces at her. At one point, she stopped, turned around, and started yelling as loud as she could, "Leave me alone!"
Oh shit! You know what this reminds me of?
What?
I just listened to the Dead podcast. Y'all go listen to her. Desi's great.
Yeah.
She just did an episode about the smiling man. Fucking hell.
Right.
He like smiles really creepy and dances.
She also yelled that she wasn't going to go with him and that she wasn't going to give the officers to him. They finally got her moving again, but when they did, they started to hear noises from all around them. It was a coughing sound with a deep and that sounded deep and rhythmic.
Hmm.
Jim said it was like an insect. When they finally came to the clearing where the base ops was, the woman turns to Jim, her eyes wide, and touches his shoulder. She tells him, he says to tell you to speed up. He doesn't like looking at the scar on your neck, which Jim just happened to have a small scar at the base of his neck. It was mostly hidden underneath the collar of his shirt, though. Right after she tells Jim this, he hears the weird coughing right next to his ear. Jim just about jumped out of his skin and gets the woman to the base ops super quick after that,
We're like, motherfucker, don't look.
trying not to show the others how freaked out he was.
Like, listen, I have been bullied by people my whole damn life for one thing or another about my appearance. You gonna tell me you don't like my little motherfucking scar? Well, excuse the fuck out of me. You're a ghost or a demon or whatever. Just go some fucking where else so you ain't gotta look at it, you son bitch. Getting bullied by like supernatural entities. That shit's rude as
Right.
hell.
One of the weirdest things Jim has experienced, though, is one that most search and rescue officers in the area know about. He says you can ask the others about it, but they will only act like they don't know what you're talking about. They are all told not to talk about it from their superiors. Jim goes on to say that they have all gotten used to it and that it doesn't seem weird anymore. On just about every case that they have went on, that was really, really far out in the woods, around 30 to 40 miles, at some point they will find a staircase in the middle of the woods. Jim says it's like you took stairs from your house out and then stuck them in the middle of the woods. Jim asked them when he encountered them for the first time. The officer he was with told him that they were normal and to not worry about them.
Yes, it's just normal to find fucking stairs out in the middle of the wilderness. Sure.
I want to say I've seen some stairs out in the woods too.
I feel like I have too, but I feel like
But-
they were connected to ruins.
Right.
Like it was just like a staircase from a long forgotten mountain house or something, you know?
Right.
That's a little more normal, I feel like, around here.
Sure. Everyone Jim asked said the same thing, and before long, Jim became curious and wanted to check them out.
Motherfucker, leave the stairs alone.
The officer he was with at the time told him to not go anywhere near them with a stern look. Oh, excuse me. Jim says he just ignores them now because he sees them so frequently. He says that the stairs come in a lot of shapes, sizes, and styles and conditions. Some are old and dilapidated. They look like they have been there, for a while, and some are even brand new with carpet on them even. He said he's seen one that looked like it came from a lighthouse. It was metal and spiral.
That's cool.
Uh, the stairs they the stairs they run into do not go up infinitely. They just go up and end. Sometimes they are tall, sometimes they are short. He says just to imagine someone cut and pasted the stairs from your house into the middle of nowhere.
Sounds like a damn Dr. Seuss novel. Sometimes the stairs are tall, sometimes the stairs are short, sometimes the stairs have carpet, sometimes the stairs are red. Like, fucking hell, okay.
He says it never occurred to him to get a picture of one of the stairs, and he doesn't want to risk losing his job. So Jim goes on to tell a story about an elderly man that was lost in the woods, uh, and all they could find of him was like his walking cane hanging from a tree, like 30 to 40 foot in the air.
Interesting.
Yeah. Stories of things that seem impossible. Uh, he says the missing kids ones are the most heartbreaking, though. He says it's not easy, and they always dread the ones they find that are, deceased.
Mm-hmm. It's hard.
It's not common, but he says it happens. He said he remembers one particular one where a mother and her three kids were out on a picnic in the park. The park had a small lake.
Mm-hmm.
One was 6, one was 5, and the other was about 3.
It was a one woman
Yeah,
with 3 children
3 kids.
under 6 and under.
Yeah,
I don't know if that was brave or stupid.
right.
Shit.
She she was watching them all real close, but according to her, she never let them out of her sight. Now, she never saw anyone else in the area, and the lake was only about 2 miles into the woods, so they weren't very far, into the woods.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Plus, the place had a clearly marked trail. Jim said it is impossible to get lost getting from the parking area to there because it's just too short of a distance. But unless you're deliberately going off the path like an idiot.
Yeah.
Um, Her kids were walking in front of her when she hears what sounds like someone coming up behind her. She hears like, um, she turns around, and in the 4 or so seconds she's not looking, her 5-year-old son vanishes. She figured he stepped off the path to like pee or something, and she asked her 2 other children where he went. They both tell her with straight faces that a big man with a scary face came out of the woods next to them and took the kid's hand and led him into the forest. Her 2 kids didn't seem upset. The mom actually says later it seemed like they were drugged, which is super weird.
You're all talking this whole week. You're like, Mama's never going to go in the forest again, Patty. No, I'm never going to let you take Patty into the forest again, is what's going to happen.
Right. So the mom freaks out at this point and starts frantically looking for her kid. She screams his name for hours, and she says he had thought he had she thought he had answered her. She couldn't leave her other kids, so she called search and rescue. Jim comes with his team and even canine units, and they search for miles and miles, not finding even a trace. Even the dogs couldn't pick up the scent. Uh, they were suspicious of the mother at the time, but she seemed completely tore up about the
Mm-hmm.
event. So they kind
Well,
of
I
rolled
mean,
that out.
it's kind of like that's the first place you got to look,
Yeah.
unfortunately, but that's really the first place you got to look.
Yeah. Volunteers and search and rescue searched for weeks for this kid. Eventually, the search peters out and they have to move on. Uh, the volunteers kept searching though, and one day Jim gets a call letting them know a body had been found.
Mm,
They tell them the location, and none of them can believe it. Uh, Jim has been trying to figure out how this kid got into this place. He did since they found him. The volunteer just happened to be looking up at a sheer rock cliff with his binoculars,
mm,
and stuffed in a little hole in the rock face was this little boy. The kid was 15 miles away from where he went missing, and the kid could not have gotten up onto that high of a rock cliff on his own.
right.
The boy had no scratches or marks on him. His shoes were gone, but his feet were clean and not really damaged whatsoever. He looked like he had passed only a day or two before they found him, and the kid had been out there for a month. So,
Jesus.
yeah. The coroner later determined that the kid died from exposure and had froze to death. There were no suspects and no answers.
No.
Jim says it was one of the strangest cases that he had been on. Uh, he says one of the first jobs he got a call on was a search out for a 4-year-old kid that had gotten separated from his mom. This was one of those cases where they knew they were going to find him, though, because the dogs were on a strong scent trail.
Mm,
And they saw clear signs, really, that he was in the area. They ended up finding him in a berry patch about a half a mile where he originally went missing. I wonder what's up with these berries. Like,
kids love berries.
yeah, I
I
mean,
mean, how many berries did you eat as a kid just right off the damn briar patch?
a lot of these stories had berries though in them, and I'm like,
Yeah, because the kids are like, oh, I want to go find some berries. And then they toddle off. And then, like, Bocephus Cletus finds them
right.
and takes them back to his rock cave cliff thing, I guess. I don't fucking know.
Well, this was a small
I'm
hole
disturbed.
that they found him in. So, but the kid wasn't aware that he had wandered off that far. One of the vets brought him back, which Jim was glad for because he wasn't really good with kids. He found it hard to talk to them and keep them company. As Jim's trainer and him head back, she decides to take him on a detour to show him one of the hot spots where they tend to find missing people. It's a natural dip in the land near a popular trail, and people usually move downhill because it's easier. Uh, they hike out there. It's a few miles away, and they get there in about an hour or so. As they're walking around the area, she points out places she'd found people in the past. Jim sees something in the distance. Now, this area they're in is about 8 miles from the main parking lot, uh, though there's back roads you can take to get closer if you
Hmm.
didn't want to hike out there that far. But they were on state protected land, which meant there can't be any commercial or residential development out there. The most you'll ever see is a fire tower or a makeshift shelter that homeless people had built. But Jim sees something that has straight edges, and if there's one thing you learn quickly is nature doesn't make straight lines.
I mean, sometimes.
Sometimes. But Jim points it out, but his trainer doesn't say anything. She just hangs back and lets Jim wander over and check it out. He gets within about 20 feet of it when all the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end. It's a staircase
Mm.
in the middle of the woods. In the proper context, it would literally be the most benign thing ever. It's just a normal staircase with beige carpet and about 10 steps tall. But instead of being in a house where it obviously should be, it's out in the middle of the woods. The sides were not carpeted, and Jim could see the wood that it was made of. It was almost like a video game glitch, glitch tech, where the house where the house failed to load completely, and the stairs are the only thing visible. Jim just stands there. It's like his brain was working overtime to comprehend what he was seeing. The trainer comes over and stands next to him. She just stands there casually, looking at the stairs like they were the most uninteresting thing in the world. Jim asks her what the fuck the stairs are doing there, and she just chuckles. Get used to it, rookie, she says. You're gonna see a lot of them. Jim starts to move closer, but she grabs his arm hard. I wouldn't do that, she says. Her voice was casual, but her grip was tight, and Jim just stood there looking at her. You're going to see them all the time, but don't go near them, she tells him. Don't touch them, don't go up them, just ignore them. Jim started to ask her about them, but something in the way she's looking at him tells him that it's best if he didn't. They wind up moving on, and the subject never came up again for the rest of the training. She was right, though. Jim said about every call he goes on, he ends up running across a set of stairs. Sometimes they're relatively close to the path, maybe within 2 or 3 miles. Sometimes they're 20, 30 miles out, literally in the middle of nowhere, and only finds them in the broadest of searches or training weekends. They're usually in good condition, he says, but sometimes it looks like they've been out there for like years.
Yeah.
All different sizes. Uh, the biggest he ever saw said it came looked like it came out of a turn of the century mansion
Hmm.
and were at least 10 feet wide with steps leading up at least 15 to 20 feet.
Jeez.
So, like, imagine the Biltmore House staircase
Mm-hmm.
out in the middle of the woods. Like, what the fuck?
It's very bizarre.
Yep.
It's almost like he said it was like a video game glitch. I've heard of stories of people that have like there's time slips, but there's also like a glitch into like I don't want to say a different universe, but there's been weird glitches where they'll be like driving down the road and then they'll like stop at this gas station and it's a really really weird situation and then they'll come back through like days later and that gas station's been closed down for 20 years.
Yep. And
That's it's given me that vibe.
and that's kind of the vibe that I get from these stories is
It's like there's a glitch in the multiverse.
when the people go missing, like
They're
there's no
glitching.
trace of them.
They're like it's like somebody's coming from the other universe.
And then they pop back in later.
It's like somebody's coming from another verse in the multiverse and taking them back, especially the
Yep.
kids.
Yeah.
Which disturbs me. I hate it. I hate the kids going missing. Don't like it. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Patty's never going in the woods again. Ever. See, you done fucked yourself up trying to get me to let you take her camping and shit. And you want to do this episode? This is not the episode to get me to let you take her tent camping.
Right.
Mm-mm.
So let's see. Jim tried talking about it to people, but they gave him the same response the trainer did. It's normal, they said. Don't worry about it. They're not a big deal, but don't go close to them or up them.
I feel like this is something you really need to explain to people what the fuck is going on.
For sure.
Because I'm sorry, if you sit there and tell me over and over and over again, they're fine, they're normal. Don't touch them. Do not fucking go near them. Don't get on them. Don't get in their radius. Motherfucker, what is it?
It's going to make me want to.
Like on one, I'm half black, half white. Half black, I'm Jordan Peele over here just going, nope, nope, nope. The half white side, I'm that white bitch. It's like, oh, what is this weird box that's wrapped up in this hole? Let's open it and find out. Like,
right.
what, either way, what is it?
Yeah.
Go up the damn steps so we can find out what it is. I'm going to go up the steps.
when trainers ask Jim about them now, he gives them the same response. He didn't really know what else to tell them. Now, Jim is not comfortable telling us exactly where he works. Some of the things mentioned in his stories could get him fired. So I think it's best that we don't know where he works.
Hmm.
Just know that it's hundreds of miles of thick forest, a mountain range, some parks and lakes.
Which could literally be any fucking where
Anywhere,
in the
yeah.
United
Yeah.
States. Could be here, could be in Oregon. We don't fucking know.
Yeah. Now the next set of stories from are from one of Jim's co-workers. Again, not to mention any names, since a lot of this information is sensitive, and we don't want to get any search and rescue people fired. Like,
No.
but for the sake of the story, we'll call Jim's friend Dan.
Dan.
Dan,
Dan? Oh, you should have named the other one Jack.
right?
Could have had Jack and
Jack
Dan.
and Diane.
Dear God, if they ever listen to this, they're gonna be like, motherfuckers. Yeah, if y'all know, you know.
I could
If
see
you
Dan
know, you know.
listening to us.
I could probably actually see Jack listening to us too.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, they'll be like, motherfuckers, son of a bitch.
So Dan has been a search and rescue officer for about 7 years. He started when he was a junior in college, and he had a very similar experience to Jim's when he first encountered the stairs in the woods. Dan's trainer told him almost the same thing Jim's did, which was to never go near, touch, or ascend them. For the first year, Dan did just that, but apparently his curiosity got the better of
I
him.
mean, I'm Dan, 100%.
And on one call, he broke away from the line and went to go check a set of them out. He said they were about 10 miles from the path where a teenager girl had vanished, and the dogs were following a scent. He was on his own, lagging behind the main group, when he saw a set of stairs off to his left. They looked like they were from a new house. Like, see, that part baffles me. Like, very brand new stairs.
It doesn't, I mean, it makes sense if it's a glitch.
Right.
Like, if just your stairs are glitching through, it's a
Yeah,
weird thing to fucking glitch through, but
it is. But he said they were from a new house, and he could tell because the carpet was pristine and white. He said that as he got closer, he didn't really feel any different or hear any weird noises. Dan was expecting something to happen, like bleeding from his ears or collapsing or something. Um, but
is it a UFO?
right, so he got right up next to them and he didn't feel anything. Uh, the only thing Dan said that was odd was that there was absolutely no debris on the steps, no dirt, leaves, dust, or anything. And there didn't appear to be any signs of animal or insect activity in the immediate area, which Dan found weird too. It's the middle of the woods. There should
Mm-hmm.
be all of those things.
Yeah.
Uh, Dan says it wasn't like things were avoiding the stairs, but more like they were in a relatively barren part of the forest.
Hmm.
Dan touched the stairs. He didn't feel anything except the sticky feeling when you step on a new carpet. You ever stepped on new carpet and it's just like stiff and sticky?
No.
Like it'll like trip you up because it'll catch your shoes.
Hmm.
But so making sure that his radio was on, Dan slowly climbed the stairs. Dan says he was terrified because of the way his superiors had explained them.
Right.
He wasn't really sure what was going to happen to him, so he was scared. But Dan joked about Dan joked that half of him expected to be teleported to some other dimension,
That's exactly what I'm thinking is going to happen. Like, legitimately.
and the other half was watching for a UFO to come swooping down.
Bigfoot, like Flatwoods Monster, like what's coming? What's happening?
right? Which the bear man, like maybe it was a Bigfoot, but so uh,
Oh, and Sasquatches are interdimensional.
right,
What if the stairs? Oh, that's all
it is weird, but so he got to the top with little event, and he stood there just looking around. But Dan said the longer he stood at the top of the step, the more he felt like he was doing something very, very wrong.
well, no shit. You've had trainers yelling in your face, going, "Don't touch the steps! Don't touch the steps! Don't get on the steps! Don't do it! Don't do it! Don't do it! Don't do it!" Of course, you're gonna feel like you're doing something wrong,
Right?
like a kid who got caught with his hand in the cookie jar.
Yep. Dan described the feeling as if you'd get the feeling you'd get if you were in part of a government building and had no business being there,
Exactly.
as if someone was going to come and arrest you or shoot you in the back of the head at any second.
Yeah, it's because I get don't touch it, don't get on there, don't do it. Mm-mm.
He tried to brush it off, but the feeling got stronger and stronger. And that's when he realized he couldn't hear anymore.
Well, that's weird.
The sounds of the forest were gone, and he couldn't hear his own breathing. Like, all
Complete
noise was
silence.
complete silent.
I hate complete silence.
Right. It was like some kind of weird, awful tinnitus. If you guys don't know what tinnitus is,
It's a
it's
ringing in
like a
your ear.
ringing in your ear. But
Currently,
he said it was more oppressive because it was just silence.
yeah. If you hear complete silence,
Yeah, it's weird.
like there's been studies. There's like a complete silent room somewhere, but there's been studies where like complete silence can drive you mad in like an hour.
Yeah. So Dan climbed back down and rejoined the search. And he didn't mention what he had done to any of the team. Of course not.
Right.
But Dan said the weirdest part came after. His trainer was waiting back at the welcome center after the search ended for the day, and he cornered Dan. She,
They.
I think that we'll say they. They cornered Dan before he could leave. Dan said his trainer had this look of intense anger, and Dan asked him what was wrong. You went up them, didn't you? Dan asked how his trainer knew. The trainer just shook his head because we didn't find her. The dogs lost her scent. Dan asked what that had to do with the stairs, and the trainer then asked Dan how long he had been on them. Dan told him no longer than a minute, and the trainer gave him this really awful, almost dead eyed look and told him that if he ever went up the stairs again, that he would be fired immediately. The trainer walked away, and I guess he never answered any of the questions Dan asked.
Yeah. Like what?
And I think that's where I'm going to end it.
I would get fired because I'd be like,
Since you got to tell
explain
me.
yourself, sir.
Right.
The fuck are you talking about? I stepped on some stairs for a minute and we didn't find the girl. How
Yep.
the fuck is that my fault?
Right.
Like, I would go the fuck off. I'd be like, oh, hell no. You ain't putting this shit on me. And you never told me why the fuck we're not supposed to go on the stairs, anyways. You can't tell people not to do something without giving them a valid and concise explanation of why they can't do it.
Yep.
Like something like that, you can't just be like, don't touch it. Just
Yeah.
don't ever. Why? Just don't do it. No, give people a reason because we are
Yeah.
curious as a species.
For sure.
Like, on one hand, like I said, I'm like, nope. If I see stairs, I'm going to be like, nope. But on the other hand, I'm also going to be like, let's go see what's up there. Like,
Right.
that's.
So
I'm
what do you
so
think?
pissed off. I'm pissed off at Dan's boss. Okay, I'm still pissed off at that guy.
Right.
I think it's weird. It's not. It's nothing that's gonna like keep me out of the woods. I'm probably going to get, like, I don't know, kidnapped because I'm going to go walk up some steps the next time I'm out in the woods and I see steps because that's what's going to happen. I'll be like,
I'm
keep
gonna stay
Patty
away from them
over there.
steps.
Keep Patty over there. Over there. I'm going up here.
Right.
I'll be back. Yeah. No, see, I didn't learn shit from Jordan Peele.
Seems like it's not just happening like to people that like go up the steps though either. It's like almost, the whole area.
Yeah. Which it
But
would be nice to know where this is located at.
it would.
But I do feel like this is not strictly tied to one area,
Maybe not.
especially if it's a bear man or like a Sasquatch type creature.
Or interdimensional.
They're everywhere.
Right.
They're fucking everywhere. I saw like a map of Sasquatch sightings the other day, and it's literally the whole damn country is covered in Sasquatch sightings.
Right.
So do Sasquatches live in houses
I don't know.
in their dimension? They got like big
Maybe.
ass fancy mansions.
I mean, I would if I was a Sasquatch.
We got just like Wookiees running around in the Biltmore house. Like, what? Can picture that. Picture that.
Wookiees in the Biltmore.
Yeah, Wookiees at the Biltmore. Like, imagine like that story I did where the ladies like they had that table with the 13 seats because they were like doing Satanist shit. And I'm like, yeah, Satanist Wookiees.
I'm gonna have to like start a
Imagine the
Wookiee
day.
convention now and like
I'm sure there is one.
call it Wookiees at the Biltmore.
Wookiees at the Biltmore. Oh my god, that would be amazing.
That would be awesome, wouldn't it?
Every Star Wars fan that's ever going to listen to this is like, yes, Wookiees at the Biltmore.
If you guys don't know what Biltmore is, it's like the biggest house in the U.S.
Go back to and listen to episode 29.
Is it 29?
It's 29.
Oh, okay.
I think, because I just looked at Buzzsprout.
Yeah.
Episode 29, we covered the Biltmore house and the Vanderbilts. And there's also like, there's a lot of wild shit.
Just check out pictures and then imagine Wookiees there.
Hey, listen, they have 8,000 acres.
That'd be great.
That's enough land for like a whole colony of Wookiees.
For sure.
Okay, that would be fantastic. Get some Ewoks in there too.
Mm-hmm.
Shit, bitch. I don't know. That is really bizarre. It does make me sad. The kid's missing.
Yeah,
Like,
some of the stories that I didn't read all of the missing person stories that this guy had listed just because there was too much for me to just put in there and talk about over and over.
Yeah.
Because like he talks about a lot of missing person cases over and over and over. And all of them are like super fucking weird. Like people get like, I read one of them, this girl fell off of a cliff. Or was it a baby? Oh, it was a baby. They were like, it was her husband, and the baby. And somehow she slipped on her. They were looking over this cliff and she slipped on a rock and nudged her husband. And she nudged him hard enough to knock the kid out of the sling that he had holding. And the kid fell down the cliff and died. And it's like so bizarre, some of the ways that people went.
I call it bullshit.
In this place. But
I call bullshit.
Right.
Ain't like, listen. Okay. We had 2 different carriers or one carrier for Patty. I don't know. We had a carrier for Patty. I've seen people with slings. I've seen, which if it's like, well,
it was just a sling.
I guess
it wasn't like
I was thinking of like a wrap. I'm like, there ain't no way in hell a baby's coming out of a wrap.
It wasn't like a pack. Like,
okay.
Like they have.
It wasn't like what we used to have.
Right.
Because if you had like, if she had bumped into him and he had like the carrier like we used to have, she's not falling out. She's not just going plink. But yeah, if it's just a sling that's just a piece of cloth and the baby's just laying in the piece of cloth like a hammock.
Right.
If you're talking about that kind of sling, that, dear God, I would kill myself.
But there was so many stories that this guy had, and a lot of them are really brutal, and I didn't want to like go through all of them.
Especially because we're getting ready to record Deadly Lovers, so
yeah. But
it's kind of brutal. No kids.
I kind of wanted to concentrate more on the stair story that he had.
Yeah, the stairs is weird
because it all kind of, I don't know, centers
and
around
now I
him.
got to stay off of Reddit stair stories for the next 2 weeks until you do the next episode.
Yeah, because
And I'm on Reddit all day.
there's like a lot of them. There's different ones. Like the what was the first guy? Uh, the first guy that did them was his name was David Paulides, and he's a search and rescue officer as well. And so like whenever the guy that I seen started doing his, people were like, "Oh, well, that's just this other guy's stories," and he's like, "No, they're similar, but they're not."
Like, obviously, if you have people that work in the same field, you're going to have similar stories.
For sure. I mean, especially if they're in the same area, like
Mm-hmm.
they probably went on calls together.
Probably.
But
Well, thanks for bringing that new nightmare into my life and the restriction of you never being able to take our child out into the woods again. So that's fine. I hope you enjoy rock climbing at the gym because it's never going to be on a sheer cliff that our child could possibly find a child's body stuck inside of.
she may be a search and rescue officer when she
She
grows
fucking
up.
might. That would be my luck. She'd be like, "Oh yeah, I got to go rappel down the side of this mountain to save this person that fell." Like,
I'll have to tell her not to touch or go upstairs.
shit, you gonna tell that girl not to touch something?
She'll do it anyways.
Good luck.
Right.
Like, how many
That's my kid.
what is it nowadays? We've gotten in the habit of being like, "Don't touch that," or I've gotten in the habit of being like, "Don't touch that. It's got germs. This is how we get sick." Every time she touches something, I don't want her touching, especially when we're at the store. Don't touch it. It's got germs. This is how we get sick.
Yep.
Doesn't.
She touches everything.
But I don't. I've actually cut back on griping about that because I realize that I do it too.
Yeah.
If you ever notice when we go in the store, I'm like, "Oh, look at that. That's really cool. That's so pretty." And put it back. And then, "Oh, look at that. That's so pretty." And then I put it back. I always touch shit. So
Yeah.
she gets it from her mama.
She does.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure you come back in 2 weeks to hear more of this shit.
Yep. Come find out what the stairs hold next time.
Come back next week. I have a really special episode for Ian. It's a more lighthearted episode. There's not going to be any murder, any people disappearing.
Hey.
None of that. Some people die, but that's just because people die.
Right.
It's because that's what happens in life. People die. So if you guys would like, please head on over to Instagram and follow us at the Paranormal Lovers. You can search for the same thing on YouTube in the search bar and watch these videos. Hey. How's it going? Head on over to Patreon if you would like to support the podcast. The $5 tier will get you access to the Deadly Lovers, which is our true crime podcast exclusive to Patreon.
Yep.
Head on over to the paranormallovers.threadless.com. We will probably have new merch when this comes out because it'll be April. Yep, this comes out April 3rd.
April showers.
Bring May flowers. These are golden showers.
Then they just bring poop.
Just bring poop. Gross. And I think that's about it. Oh, wait, we have an email. If you would like to send us a personal request, we're looking for some paranormal personals. So if you want to send those in to us or true crime, we can do those on the Patreon as well.
Yep.
And if your story gets read out on the Patreon, we'll send you a link or a copy of that episode.
For sure.
Send that email to the paranormallovers@yahoo.com. Everybody uses Gmail and I don't get it, but whatever.
I mean,
Gmail's confusing as fuck
all
to
email.
me. Like if you go on Gmail, you got like your inbox, you got primary, you got general, and I'm like,
yep.
Just give me all my emails and I will sort them into their folders. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, if you enjoyed this, also leave us a 5-star review if you please can, or a 5-star rating on Spotify or Apple if you can, and leave us a review if you don't mind. Thank you very much.
We love you guys.
See you guys next week.
Don't touch the stairs.
Don't touch the stairs. Bye.
Bye.